Okay, it says,
Here you
There
are.
you go. You're on.
okay, all right, thank you.
We
Thank
can
you.
see now.
Ready? Okay, I call to order the October meeting of the Lafayette Common Council. Will you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to our nation flag? I
pledge
allegiance to the flag of the
United
United States
States of America,
And
and to the republic for
for
which
which
it
it
stands,
stands, one
one
nation,
nation, under God,
indivisible, with
liberty and justice for all.
Will the clerk conduct a roll call?
Heidi,
Here.
Blanker,
Here.
Reynolds,
Here,
Campbell,
Here.
Brown, Allersmeyer, here, Williamson,
Here.
Downey,
Here.
Nargi.
Here.
We have quorum present.
Okay. Before we start the meeting, let's please have a moment of silence for John Schuman. Thank you. You've received the minutes of the September meeting. Are there any corrections?
Madam President, I move those minutes be approved as communicated.
And did somebody second it?
Second.
Okay. I'll call names around. Roll call vote, please.
Heidi,
Here.
Blanker,
Here.
Reynolds,
here,
Campbell,
Aye.
Brown,
Aye.
Allersmeyer,
Aye.
Williamson,
Aye.
Downey.
Here.
Okay, minutes approved as communicated.
Okay, presentation and disposal of claims,
There are none.
presentation of petitions and communications,
There are none.
reports of city offices on file in the city clerk's office.
Waterworks Department monthly August, Renew Department monthly August, Fleet Maintenance monthly August, and Police Department monthly August.
Okay, and all these reports are on file at the city clerk's office and can be viewed during regular office hours. Okay, ordinances for second reading. Ordinance 2020-27.
An amendment to ordinance number 2010-11 establishing a local Beaver shop, 914 South 10th Street, Historic District in the city of Lafayette, Indiana.
Okay, Mrs. Altsmeyer,
Madam President, I move we hear and approve ordinance 2020-27.
and Mr. Brown?
I second.
Okay. Do we have any questions or concerns? I know we talked about this at the last meeting concerning this ordinance.
I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has any. John Collier.
Okay, any questions for John? Okay, will the clerk conduct a roll call vote on 2020-27?
Heidi.
Aye.
Clinker.
Aye.
Reynolds.
aye,
Campbell.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Allersmeyer.
Aye.
Williamson.
Aye.
Downing.
Aye.
Ordinance passes 8-0.
Thank you.
Okay, ordinances for first reading, we're going to change the order a little bit. We're going to start with ordinance 2020-34.
Madam President, I move that the agenda be changed so that we may consider resolution 2019-34.
2020-34. Okay,
I second,
all right. Okay, so now we need to have somebody put it on the floor?
I
Or
move
is that already, or is that motion already puts it on the floor?
yes.
Yes, that already puts it on the floor?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Teeter, are you going to speak to that?
Yes, I am. Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I'd like to thank you for moving me up on the agenda since I've got another meeting in West Lafayette, which has I told Mr. Campbell, you are number one. So, I represent the petitioner in this matter. This is the Schuman family. As you're aware, we're requesting a rezone to NB for this 1.5 acre tract. It's located on the southwest corner of Keeson and Earl. Petitioner's present office building, which is located on North 7th Street, is being taken by the city, or has been taken by the city, for a new police city building. As a result, my clients need a new office, and they're proposing to build a 1-story building of about approximately 9,000 square feet at this new location. The new location is surrounded by I-3, GB, and NB, and directly to the west of our site is an I-3 parcel that they also own. This office building is going to be used by my clients for developing properties for their various entities, and also used for a real estate office. We received a favorable area plan staff recommendation. We received a unanimous yes vote from the area plan commission as well, and we would respectfully request your approval for this rezone. Be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Teeter. Are there any questions from council members? Okay, was there any public comment on this?
There is none. I think we need to read it to get it into the minutes.
So moved.
Okay,
So ordinance 2020-34, an ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance of Tippecanoe County, Indiana to certain real estate from I-3, NB, and GB to NB 310 North Earl Avenue, Kaysen and Earl LLC petitioner.
okay. So we have it officially in. We have it put on the floor in second, okay? Are there any other comments, or there wasn't any public comments? Any other questions from council members? Okay, so will the clerk conduct a roll call vote on ordinance 2020-34?
Heidi?
Aye.
Blinker?
Aye.
Reynolds?
Aye.
Campbell?
Aye.
Brown?
Aye.
Allersmeyer?
Aye.
Williamson?
Aye.
Downing?
Aye.
Ordinance passes 8-0.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Ordinance 2020-26.
An ordinance for the Lafayette Sewer 2020 refunding bond tabled until time certain at the September 8th meeting.
Okay, Mr. Reynolds?
Madam President, I move to hear ordinance 2020-26 for final reading, or first reading, I'm sorry.
And Ms. Williamson?
Second.
Okay. We've been asked by the city attorney and the controller to remove this from the agenda. So I think we need a motion to do that, Mr. Clinker?
So move for taking that off the agenda.
And Mr. Heidi?
Second.
Okay. Do we have any discussion about that, or do a roll call vote?
We'll be bringing it back, just not right now, but we'll be bringing it back.
Okay. Okay, great. Will the clerk conduct a roll call vote on, I guess it's the removal of ordinance 20-26?
Heidi?
Aye.
Blinker?
Aye.
Reynolds?
Aye.
Campbell?
Aye.
Brown?
Aye.
Allersmeyer?
Aye.
Williamson?
Aye.
Downing? Okay. Removal passed.
Aye.
I gotcha.
Thank you.
Okay.
Now we're looking at ordinance 2020-28.
The 2021 GLPTC budget and ordinance appropriating money for the Greater Lafayette Public Transportation Corporation is required pursuant to Indiana Code 6-1.1-17-20.
Okay, Mr. Brown?
Madam President, I move that we hear and approve ordinance 2020-28 on first reading.
Okay, Mrs. Alsmeyer?
Second.
Okay. All right. Mr. Clary, are you going to speak to this?
There should be representatives from
I
City Bus on the
Yeah.
air. I think Amy's going to speak to it, the
Amy's gonna
controller.
speak to
City
it
Bus.
first. Okay, Amy?
No, it's Marty Sennett, General Manager.
Oh, Marty, okay.
I'd like to, before we get into the numbers, kind of bring everybody up to date of what's going on this past 6 or 7 months, and it's not been pretty. I don't think it's been pretty anywhere. Right now, our fare box revenues are down about 37.5%. Our total revenues through September are down 24%. We took a hit on the Purdue contract because took off one of our busiest routes, the Silver Loop, where we would carry 80 to 100 passengers per hour. But there's no way you can socially distance when you have that many people on a bus. So we thought it'd be safer not to run that route. When their parents went to school here and they lived in Shreve and McCutcheon, those halls, they walked to class. A lot of these students are finding out they can walk to class. We're also seeing a little bit of a drop in exterior advertising sales. The amount of work that we do for the apartments in West Lafayette who want extra service for their students is decreased. But the good news is we did receive some CARES Act funding. And we plan to use approximately $4 million of that to offset our expenses. And for next year's budget, we've included about $2.5 million of that money in the budget. We did receive a 13.3% reduction from NDOT and state funding. The CARES Act funding will come in very handily. Our personnel expenditures for 21, we're looking at about 1.5% increase. Our commodities, we're planning to reduce that by about 9.7%, mostly due to adding more buses with CNG engines and not and the reduction in the use of diesel. At one point this year, the cost of natural gas was so low and with the tax credit that we get, for every gallon we burned, we earned 4 cents. About the only time we ever really turned a profit in years. For services and charges, services, the budget's going up a little over 13%, mainly due to the amount of cleaning that we're doing on our buses. We are sanitizing the buses every single night. We've increased the cleaning crews that come in at night and wipe down the buses. And we have 7 days a week, full janitorial services down at the city bus center to help with sanitation, keeping everything nice and clean. For 21, we're looking to erect 6 more passenger shelters. We want to institute what we call a micro transit pilot program. Probably wondering what micro transit is. Micro transit helps people who need to travel by bus the first mile and the last mile. We're looking at maybe redoing some of the services routes in the southeast portion of Lafayette to use Tippecanoe Mall as kind of a hub. And then when people need to go out to IU Arnett or Kirby Risk, those areas for employment or appointments, we'll have these small vehicles. It's all microtransit is Uber for public transit. So when you're riding out, you call for a vehicle meets you at a certain location and then takes you to your final destination. We're also looking at starting a route to serve the community corrections, get those folks to work. Hopefully they will get on the straight and narrow and not be repeat offenders, which is great for our community. We're also looking to serve the Wabash Avenue area and Old Romney Road. And also to increase our CNG fueling capacity and add a third, by adding a third compressor, which also helps with redundancy. Mayor Rosworski was very helpful. He wrote a letter of support for us, and we got, I believe it was $1.2 million in federal funds, which will take care of 75% of that project. With that, I'll be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
Are there any questions from council members? Okay, hearing none. Was there any public comment on this, clerk?
There was none.
Okay, last chance for questions. Okay, will the clerk conduct a roll call vote on ordinance 2020-28?
Heidi,
Aye.
Blinker,
Aye.
Reynolds,
Aye.
Campbell,
Aye.
Brown,
Aye.
Allersmeyer,
Aye.
Williamson,
Aye.
Downey.
Aye.
Ordinance passes 8-0.
Okay. Ordinance 2020-29.
The 2020 budget and ordinance appropriating money for the purpose of defraying the expenses of several departments of the city government of the city of Lafayette, Indiana for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2021 and ending December 31st, 2021, including the outstanding claims and obligations and fixing the time when the same shall take effect.
Okay, Mr. Campbell?
I move for passage of ordinance 2020-29 on first and final reading.
Okay, Mr. Downing?
Second.
Okay.
I want to speak, Madam
Okay.
President.
Okay, thank you.
Madam President, ladies and gentlemen of the council, before you, we have the 2021 city budget. A couple things that we want to talk about tonight that are a little bit unusual. As you know, the COVID situation has changed dramatically the way that we are looking at potential levels of income, the way that we are looking at our income tax, the way that we're looking at our property tax base, assessed valuations, and all of those things that come into play. And some of those are, quite frankly, for the next couple years, you don't know exactly where we're going. And so we have taken a conservative approach to our budget and planning, really looking at 2 and 3 years out, maybe as far as even 5 years out. Look at how we balance our budget, how we conserve revenues, how we look at projects, because none of us know for sure, right? Once the COVID does pass and there is a vaccine, there still will be lasting effects to the economy possibly, and we don't know exactly where all of that is going to lie. And so we have been very careful in 2020 as these revenues begin to change this year, and in anticipation of being well prepared for next year. I've told people my goal is to take the highs and lows and the bumps out of it to our ability. We continue to build our financial portfolio on sound business principles and practices. We are judicious with our expenditures. We keep an eye on our revenues and our investments. We ensure that the financial direction we're going meets the needs, obviously, of public safety and providing the services to our citizens and our taxpayers at the best value for their dollar that we possibly can. The paperwork you see in front of you tonight is our first, what I call, crack at the budget. This is what we published. It's obviously higher than it's going to be, but that's necessary to ensure that we get the maximum rates that we're allowed under the state law. And we'll have a public hearing on this coming up soon, and then the final vote towards the end of the year. My thought will be by the end, you'll be voting on a budget that's about $3 to $4 million less than the budget that you see right now. In totality, the budget in our property tax areas could actually go down a little bit compared to last year, because we are going to be careful. As you know, we did public safety lit along with Tippecanoe County and the city of West Lafayette. That is proving very helpful for us as we move forward. And you might also recall that we reestablished the CCD rate last year that had not been reestablished in about 17, 18 years. It was a long time. So those two things are proving beneficial to help us go into this year. We have not touched our rainy day fund to this point, and I don't plan to. As like I said, we don't know for sure what the next couple years will bring. As you know, Governor Holcomb did extend the income tax collection process, and so we are going to be able to collect a little bit more income tax than we thought we might be able to when this started because of that 2-month extension. But that has ramifications in the following year. Now, you would hope that the economy would have progressed well, and some of that would be mitigated. Increase of employment, potentially people working overtime and those types of things. But with that being said, we can't bank on that. And so this budget reflects all of those items that I just discussed, from public safety to all of our services to paving roads, and how this budget works in conjunction with the water budget, the wastewater budget, and the redevelopment budgets that we'll continue to do throughout the rest of this year. And in that, putting those together, that's really what allows us to do our projects, provide our services, and to keep our citizens safe. And so I think we are in a good spot. We'd appreciate your approval tonight. We'll come back to public hearing, and we'll have this lined up well before the last vote. As you know, it's towards the end of the month. We want to give ourselves as much time as possible to look at expenditures and to look at any updated income projections. A couple highlights. One thing that is helping us this year, as you know, we belong to the IACT Medical Trust, and we were a founding member of that trust when just 4 cities in the state of Indiana joined together to purchase health care. We're up to about 46, probably 46 or 48 cities now that work together to purchase health care in a pool. Gives us buying power out in the market, which has proved very beneficial. So you might remember this year, we only got a 1% healthcare increase when medical trend was again about 10%. Medical trend's been averaging about 10% over the last several years. This year, technically, we'd have got a 7.8% increase to our healthcare. But because we are part of this pool, and the pool has managed its money very well, they're able to give a premium holiday. So we're not going to have to pay 1 month premium, which negates almost all of that increase. So we're going to be looking at 2 years in a row here of basically flat insurance costs, again, with medical trend being about 10% a year. So that is helping us a great deal. And that's one of the big advantages of being involved with the trust that's grown to that size. We do have cash saved. We have capital assets. So we're going to use some of those to help get us through this difficult time. And so those are some of the things that we're going to be looking at. I want to thank the department heads and the controller's office for working diligently on being responsible, getting us to this point, and help setting us up to, be in a good financial condition, even a couple years down the road, even if we get thrown a couple more curveballs from either COVID or a significant slowdown in the economy. So with that, I'd answer any questions if you have them. And if not, we'd appreciate your vote. And in the next week or so, you'll be starting to get some updated numbers for that final vote.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Any questions from council members?
On behalf of the part of the city council, I'd like to commend the mayor and the department heads and all the people that had some input into that budget. It was well done and it's appreciated.
Yes, thank you so much. Okay. Are there any questions? Was there any public comment? Clerk, was there any public comment on this?
No, there was
Okay. Okay, so will the clerk conduct a roll call vote on ordinance 2020-29?
Heidi,
Aye.
Blinker,
Aye.
Reynolds,
Aye.
Campbell,
Aye.
Brown,
Aye.
Allersmeyer,
Aye.
Williamson,
Aye.
Downing.
Aye.
Ordinance passes 8-0.
Great. Okay, next is ordinance 2020-30.
An ordinance fixing the salaries of the appointed officers and employees of the city of Lafayette, Indiana for the year 2021, excluding the sworn protective occupation and law enforcement members of the police and fire departments.
Okay, Mr. Clinker
I move we hear that on first reading.
and Mr. Heidi?
Second.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, are you speaking to this also?
Yep. Cindy, is this the one we need to amend?
No, it's
Yeah.
the next one.
The next one? Okay. All right, thank you. Yes, Madam President, ladies and gentlemen of the council, this ordinance is for the salaries of the non-sworn members of the City of Lafayette team. We are proposing a 1% raise this year. When this first started, we were not sure we were going to be able to do a raise at all, but we've worked hard by challenging the department heads to not spend all their allotment this year, help roll that money into next year's cash balances to help with this raise. And fortunately, with the insurance premium holiday, that way we're not significantly raising insurance rates. This way, nobody will go backwards. That's always a big deal for me. You know, we've had challenging years during the economic downturn. And when we first took office, those of you who are here remember we had a challenging year because the general fund was about $3.5 million in debt. And so we always want to make sure, though, that people don't go backwards. So even though the raise is small because of what we've been able to do to the insurance, this should help with that. That the insurance holiday also benefits the employees. And Mr. Clark, if I state this wrong, please correct me before I go too far. But with the holiday, they also don't get the insurance taken out of their paycheck for 3 paychecks, I believe, in December, which will also help. Tim, did I explain that correct?
That is correct, Mayor. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So that will also help the employees out with the 1% rate, and getting the premium holiday also puts money back into their pocket. So it's not a lot. We appreciate the hardworking men and women of our team here at Lafayette. So we wanted to do what we could. There are lots of places I know that will be doing less, and places that even have laid people off, and we've been fortunate not to have to do any of those things. And so we'd appreciate your approval of this 1% raise for our team members.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Any questions from council members? Okay, any public comment on this, clerk?
There was none.
Okay, will the clerk conduct a roll call vote on ordinance 2020-30?
Heidi,
Aye.
Blinker,
Aye.
Reynolds,
Aye.
Campbell,
Aye.
Brown,
Aye.
Allersmeyer,
Aye.
Williamson,
Aye.
Downing.
Aye.
Ordinance passes 8-0.
Okay, next is ordinance 2020-31.
An ordinance fixing the salaries of the sworn protective occupation and law enforcement poll members of the police and fire departments of the city of Lafayette, Indiana for the year 2021.
Okay, Mr. Reynolds?
Madam President, I move to hear ordinance 2020-31.
Okay, and Mrs. Williamson?
Second.
Okay. We have amendments to this ordinance. So we need to, I guess we put the amendment on for vote, or do we discuss the ordinance to begin with? Mrs. Chosnick, do we put the amendment on?
We need to do the amendment first.
Okay. Okay, so we need to amend this ordinance, and we need Mrs. Alsmeyer to put that on the floor, the amendment,
So moved.
and Mr. Brown.
Second.
Okay, now we can have discussion. I think everybody received an email on the amended ordinance today. Okay. Who is?
I can speak, Madam President, but just a couple things. Jackie,
I looked at both of them and tried to figure out what the chain was. Couldn't quite figure it out. So can you?
Jackie, do they need to vote on the amendment first and get?
Yes.
So the amendment's on the floor now. Do we discuss the amendment and then vote on that?
Yes, we can discuss the amendment. So the amendment is actually pretty minor. There is longevity pay that is provided to our police and fire members. It was included in the exhibit that was originally attached, but it was not mentioned in the body of the ordinance. And so this amendment is only adding a reference to longevity pay in the body of the ordinance. It was already in the schedules.
Okay, so now we vote on the amendment. And
Correct.
Then after that, we vote on the amended ordinance.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so will the clerk conduct a roll call vote on the amendment for ordinance 2020-31?
Heidi,
Aye.
Blinker,
Aye.
Reynolds,
Aye.
Campbell,
Aye.
Brown,
Aye.
Allersmeyer,
Aye.
Williamson,
Aye.
Downey.
Aye.
Amendment passes.
Okay, now we have to go back to the the ordinance that has been amended, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so is there any discussion on the amended ordinance 2020-31?
Madam President, I'll go ahead and speak to this.
Okay,
This ordinance reflects, we're very pleased to announce that this ordinance reflects longevity pay for both the police department and the fire department. I can tell you it's something that people have been asking for the entire time that I've been as the mayor, and I can remember being on the police department and this being discussed. It's something that we've not been able to do in the past, but you probably recall that part of my presentation during the passage of the public safety lit was that we would use part of those funds to create a longevity scale for our police officers and firefighters that would be able to help them with their pension, but also help us retain high quality employees. There are many police and fire departments throughout the state of Indiana that have longevity pay, and we were beginning to fall behind in some of those benefits that we were able to offer. And the public safety lit has allowed us to do that. So this longevity pay runs all the way from the bottom of the scale. The first couple years, police or firefighters won't receive anything, and then it graduates up through up to maxes out at $4,700 at the end of that 20-year period. That puts us back in line, kind of gets us back within the top 10 or 11 of cities in the state of Indiana, which is about where our population is. And so that's certainly something we want to do to remain competitive. I will tell you that we had our staff meeting today, and we only had 35 police applicants, and I believe we only had 45 fire applicants. Fire department used to get probably over 200 people applying for jobs, and the police department might get 150. But it is challenging finding qualified recruits, and it's challenging to keep good people. I can tell you that from talking to some police officers, that this alone has changed the mind of several of them already who were going to retire right at 20 years to not retire. And that is good news for us because of that training, that knowledge, and it gives us the ability to catch up, hopefully, on our hiring and fill in those positions that have been open and vacant for quite some time. So we are happy to be able to do this. The fire department voted 90 yes and 1 no. The FOP did not send me their exact totals, but they said it was overwhelmingly popular and voted overwhelmingly yes. And so we're excited to bring this to you. There will be no percentage raise for the police department and fire department in 2021. And then in this contract, there is then a few years of a guaranteed minimum of 2%. And when this is done, it will get a journeyman fireman and a first-class patrolman police officer at their pension level right up about $75,000 a year. And that's certainly, we wish we could do more. They risk their lives and we wish we could do more, but we do feel that that's fair. And as I said, the fire and police departments overwhelmingly voted that that was very fair, and they were very pleased with that also. So pleased to be able to bring that to you tonight. It's kind of an historic time for all of us, and we look forward to this being a good recruiting tool and a good retention tool for both the police and fire departments going forward. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mayor. Any questions from council members? Was there any public comment?
There was none.
No public comment. Any questions? Okay.
Mary, your timing sounds great on that. Perfect timing on the longevity pay.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, hearing none other, will the clerk conduct a roll call vote on the amended ordinance 2020-31?
Heidi,
Aye.
Blinker,
Aye.
Reynolds,
Aye.
Campbell,
Aye.
Brown,
Aye.
Allersmeyer,
Aye.
Williamson,
Aye.
County.
Aye.
Amended ordinance passes 8-0.
Okay, next is ordinance 2020-32.
An ordinance fixing the salaries of the elected officials of the city of Lafayette, Indiana for the year 2021.
Mr. Campbell?
I move for passage of ordinance 2020-32 on
And
first
Mr.
and
Downing?
final reading.
Okay, thank you. And second. Okay.
Madam President, ladies and gentlemen of the council, this is the salary for the elected officials. I have chose this year to recommend that the elected officials do not take a raise, any of us. As we said, we know that our team members are only getting 1%, which is not a lot. And it's been a very challenging year, and I just think it's the right thing to do. I know the amount of money is not a ton between the 9 of you and Cindy and I, but I think sometimes it is important for us to do the right things just for the right reasons, even if the amount is not very much. I personally am not comfortable raising a year where the rest of my team is only getting 1% raise. I'm not comfortable doing that. I know Cindy is not comfortable doing that, and I would hope the council members would join us in not taking a raise for 2021.
I think that's a great decision. I agree.
I do too.
I agree. Too much uncertainty.
Right, right. Any other comments from council members? Any public comment?
There was none.
Okay. Will the clerk conduct a roll call vote on ordinance 2020-32?
Heidi,
Aye.
Blinker,
Aye.
Reynolds,
Aye.
Campbell,
Aye.
Brown,
Aye.
Allersmeyer,
Aye.
Williamson,
Aye.
County.
Aye.
Ordinance passes 8-0.
Okay, ordinance 2020-33.
An ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance of Tippecanoe County, Indiana to certain real estate from GB to I3, 3445 Union Street, Jose Gaeta, petitioner.
Mr. Clinker?
I move we hear ordinance 20, it says 19-33, but 2020-33 on first reading.
Mr. Heidi?
Okay.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Gaeta, are you here to speak to this or someone?
I am here. Hello.
Hi.
Hello. So I don't know what I do. I never done this.
Mr. Gaeta, if you just want to explain to the council why you're requesting this rezone and what you're trying to do at this location and why that is important to your business and why you think it's a good idea and will not harm anyone around you. If you could explain that to the council, please.
Of course. Thank you so much. So yes, basically it all came after COVID. It was a backup plan for the business. We're a full service facility. We do basically pretty much anything on a vehicle for customers. And the idea here is to, I am so sorry. The idea here is to create a little bit more flow for ourselves. So we basically be purchasing our own vehicles and fixing them on the spot. And in order to do this, we needed to rezone our body shop from general business to industrial. This isn't actually, the Lafayette City requested this in order for the state to give us the permit to be a rebuilder. They label it as a salvage rebuilder for whatever reason. They put it on the same category. It is not our intention to be a salvage yard by any means. We will have vehicles for repair, and that's probably why they label it the same. But it is not our intention to have piled up vehicles or vehicles, taken apart or anything. Basically, this is in order for us to acquire the rebuilder's license that it is required for us to do the work on our own vehicles. And it's basically to keep the flow in the shop because, I have about 15 members here that have to keep busy. With COVID, business went down a little bit, and I'm just trying to keep the flow going within the business, if that makes any sense. I'm sorry. We are surrounded by industrial buildings, so I thought that was not that bad of an idea. Also, my own neighbor is myself. I own 3 properties within the property. This facility that I'm trying to rezone is not within the street view. It is not, there was some confusion on the first meeting. People from the public, they were confused about the location because they also had another poster on the corner of 52 and Union, and they thought it was the same thing. Also, our poster was in view by the street, which they thought 3465, which is our street address, thought it was going to be rezoned, which is not. This is definitely not viewed by the street. And the changes basically are on paper. Nothing is to change physically other than we be industrial 3 on paper. And it is not our intention to create a junkyard, as some of the paper might suggest.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
Maybe I
Gaeta.
spoke too much. Thank you.
Are there questions from council members?
I have a question. Enlarging like this, will there be an increase in noise, banging, anything like that?
No, as a matter of fact, we already do full service and we already do body work. So there will be literally no changes other than on paperwork on the zoning of the property, because the body work has already been conducted for years. It's literally to fill in the hole, the lack of flow that we have because of COVID within our own work, bringing in our own vehicles versus having to wait for the customers to bring in, the normal flow that we normally have. So the noise and the flow of vehicles will not change, basically.
Okay, and Mr. Reynolds on the area plan passed that 17 yes, 0 no, correct?
That's correct, yes. Mr. Good, I drove out there and looked, and you are correct. There's no view from the street, and that is very misleading the way those signs were put up.
Yes.
Any
Would be
other questions?
investigate that.
Any other questions from council members? Was there any public comment on this?
I received none.
Okay, so any other questions? That's it? Okay, so will the clerk conduct a roll call vote on ordinance 2020-33?
Ivy,
Aye.
Blinker,
Aye.
Reynolds,
Aye.
Campbell,
Aye.
Brown,
Aye.
Allersmeyer,
Aye.
Williamson,
Aye.
County.
Aye.
Ordinance passes 8-0.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I'm ready to go, right?
Yes, you can
Here we
go.
go.
Yep.
Have a
Well,
good
enjoy
day.
the rest of your meeting, guys.
Yes.
Thank you so
you.
much. Yep.
Okay, ordinance 2020-35.
An ordinance approving a lease between the City of Lafayette Redevelopment Commission and the City of Lafayette Redevelopment Authority relating to the financing and construction of a new police station and parking garage project. The pledge of public safety local income tax revenues to the City of Lafayette Redevelopment Commission and the transfer of real estate to the City of Lafayette Redevelopment Authority in connection therewith and repealing all ordinances inconsistent therewith.
Mr. Reynolds?
Move to hear ordinance 2020-35. on first
Mrs.
reading.
Williamson?
Second.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, are you speaking to
Yes.
this?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Thank you. Yes, and I'll be introducing in just a second there. But Madam President, ladies and gentlemen of the council, as you know, we are moving forward with our project to develop a new state-of-the-art public safety facility, police station in downtown Lafayette, along with about a 500-space parking garage that will be attached to it, parking for the police department, and then also city employees, downtown events at the Long Center, Lafayette Theater, and so forth with the growth. And I'm sure we're going to continue to have in our downtown and the demand we already have for parking. So it's moving along. You're aware of some of the steps. We've chosen some of the contractor that will be involved with Kettle Hut and Wilhelm, and some of the other with American Structure Point doing the design along with another firm out of Florida. And so we're just in the stages of schematic design, getting that project moving along. We spent hours and hours and hours. As you might imagine, it's an extremely complex building. As you heard earlier, we did purchase all the buildings that we need now. Doug and Karen Cooper, we were able to purchase their building that's right up against our lot, and then the next building and parking lot from the Schumann family. So we have acquired all the property that we need now for this project. We're working on environmentals, and this is a step in the process for consider process will move forward. But I want to just give you a quick update where we were. We're hoping to in November to have our first public meeting and have some renderings and drawings to show the community, and then move on after we get input to that to the final construction type documents. If things stay on course, we hope to start construction around March, somewhere February, March, maybe the 1st of April, just all depending on weather a little bit in 21. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Dennis Otten. Dennis is with the law firm of Bose, McKinney & Evans, and he'll be describing to you exactly what this ordinance represents. Dennis?
Thanks, Mayor, and thanks, council members. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Good evening. Yeah, as the mayor stated, this project's been in the works for a while, and we are now formally starting the approval necessary to get the financing in place. to have funding lined up for when the city needs it in the February-March timeframe. So this is the first proceeding before the council. I could tell you at the last redevelopment commission meeting, they took their first action to amend the TIF plan to put this project into the consolidated TIF area because a portion of TIF revenues will be used to pay for this project. There's a companion resolution that goes with this ordinance that'll be before you for consideration at your meeting next month. But this ordinance specifically approves the lease financing agreement for this financing and an amount not to exceed $45 million for the police station and parking garage project. And it's required by statute. This also approves the pledge of public safety lit revenues to the payment of lease rentals. So that will be a source of funding for this along with the TIF revenues. And then it also approves some real estate transfers to the city's redevelopment authority for the bonds. I do want to take a quick second to explain the structure of this financing. You may be looking at this, if you've not been part of one of these financings before, asking why there's a lease involved and it doesn't specifically speak to bonds. And the reason for that is because of the size of this bond issue and the city's debt limit, there's a need to do what's called a lease financing, utilizing the city's redevelopment authority. They will actually issue the bonds and lease it to the City Redevelopment Commission that will pay lease rentals that'll be payable from tax increment revenues, public safety revenues, and then it's in the lease, though it will never need to be used, a special benefits tax backup, and that's purely for marketability of the bonds. I think we've had this discussion before on prior deals. That's a common feature on these types of financings to help the city get the best interest rate. But the lease financing is employed because under state law that doesn't constitute a debt, and the redevelopment authority is utilized for those purposes. But with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Again, this is just for introduction tonight and in consideration for adoption at next month's council meeting.
This question is not for you primarily, it's for the mayor. What are your plans for the present city hall or the structure there?
Well, the police department will be vacating a significant portion of that, but not all of that. We still believe that there will be some uses for the police department in the current building. You know, the building across the street, it's going to be very, very high tech and to do the things we need to going into the future. But there are some other things that the police department does that may not require being over in that high dollar per square foot building. So we would anticipate that some of that building would still be used for police department. We're very much looking at potentially putting in there a pretty significant workout facility for all city employees to be able to use and access. And then, you know, we continue to grow in our other departments. And so having some additional space for people to grow into is certainly a good thing. So my guess is that we will find several uses for it. I'm actually hoping not every square foot, and that we have room for the next several years. If we need additional space without having to build anything, we'll have room to move, you know, people into, or the people that come after us will be blessed with some additional space to grow into at a very attractive per square foot cost.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
what's the approximate completion time on this? I think you may have.
It's about a 2-year project, so it will take all of 2021, all of 2022, and part of 2023.
Okay, thank you.
It's fairly large, so I don't know, we're not really getting into the finances this evening, but we do have representatives from Baker Tilly on the phone, also Jason Simler and Greg Blazano are with us, just in case somebody had a financial question, but we're not really to that point yet. This is just the approval tonight of the process that we'll be following here. But I want you to know we did have representatives available just in case.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from council members?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the South Street training facility, does that have no effects, or will some functions be moved down to this building, or how will that work?
Yes, significant functions will be moved down to this building. We will still use that building. Again, there are activities up there that don't require the same, type of facility that this building will be. And the long-term plan is, as you may recall, it's been quite some time since we discussed it, but eventually we will build a new training center specifically for training, and it will be down where the current fleet maintenance facility is. As you know, we're currently in the process of working on a public works campus, which will be located on McCarty Lane out across the street from Cat Park. We have purchased 15 acres there several years ago from Caterpillar, and eventually the street department, fleet maintenance, sanitation, TID will move out there. We currently, if you haven't been out there, got the first phase of that done. The salt dome, the new salt dome has been built out there, and the new brine system that we use in the winter is out there. We'll have a salt dome now that's large enough that we can just about order all of our salt for the whole year at once and have room to store it, and it's going to make us much more efficient. It's also more in the geographic center of the city of Lafayette, obviously. So once that's done and some other things are completed, the long-term goal is a new training facility would be built down where the current fleet maintenance facility is, and that's where all the training would take place. At that time, we would vacate the building on South Street. I think there'll be some interest in that. It's a beautiful, beautiful view. You can see clear over to Ross-Ade Stadium and the Bell Tower. I think there'll be some development opportunities at that time with that structure, that land. The street department, the old land down there, we're looking at making that an urban green space. We're very fortunate that we have several new buildings on the books to go up downtown, but we don't want to forget about creating green space. And so our goal is to use that area as a downtown urban green space for all of our downtown residents. So that's kind of the long-term plan from that study that we did several years ago on how much square footage we would need, looking 20 and 25 years into the future.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, any other questions concerning this ordinance?
I will not be here in 25 more years, Mayor.
Okay.
Okay, was there any public comment on this ordinance? No?
There was none.
Okay. Okay, will the clerk conduct a roll call vote on ordinance 2020-35?
Heidi,
Aye.
Clinker,
Aye.
Reynolds,
Aye.
Campbell,
Aye.
Brown,
Aye.
Ollersmeyer,
Aye.
Williamson,
Aye.
Downing.
Aye.
Ordinance passes 8-0.
Okay, resolutions. Resolution 2020-20.
A resolution of the Common Council of the City of Lafayette, Indiana, approving resolution number Lafayette Redevelopment Commission 2020-12 of the City of Lafayette Redevelopment Commission, which amended the Economic Development Plan for the Consolidated Creasy Central Economic Development Area and the Order of the Area Plan Commission of Tippecanoe County, Indiana, related thereto.
Okay, Mrs. Olsmeyer,
Madam President, I move we hear and approve resolution 2020-20.
Mr. Brown. Can I hear him? I saw
his lips.
Okay. Okay, it's been requested by the mayor and the city attorney that we table this until a certain time in the November meeting. So we need a motion to table this, Mr. Campbell?
I move the table resolution 2020-20 until, would that be time certain or is it the next meeting?
Yes, the
Time
November
certain,
2nd meeting.
Yeah. And Mr. Downing?
Second.
Okay. Do we need to discuss anything about this? Or we'll just vote on it?
Yeah, we definitely need to vote on, we just need to wait for the area plan commission to have their meeting,
Do
what
that.
they
Okay,
do first.
we can do that. Okay, will the clerk conduct a roll call vote on the motion to table resolution 2020-20?
Heidi?
Did you call me?
I did.
Yes.
Blinker,
Aye.
Reynolds,
Aye.
Campbell,
Aye.
Brown,
Aye.
Allersmeyer, Williamson,
Aye.
Downing.
Aye.
Resolution tabled.
Okay, reports of standing committees. Reports of special committees. Reports by the mayor.
Just briefly, again, I'd be remiss if I didn't make a comment. Thank you very much for the moment of silence at the beginning of the meeting in memory of John Schuman. And we certainly want to keep his family in our thoughts and prayers during this difficult time. There is no doubt he was a titan of this community. He did so many things and so many things that most people do not even know about, but he was incredibly generous to the Parks Department, helped on so many projects, $5 million to the North End Community Center, Crossroads Girls Softball Complex. The list could go on and on. His work with Habitat for Humanity. In my lifetime, I don't recall anybody as generous to this community as John Schuman has been. And we certainly, again, in this difficult time for his family, want to keep them in our thoughts and prayers. And if you happen to see any of them, please make sure that you say something about the work their dad did in this community. He loved Lafayette. He never forgot where he came from, grew up, where he went to high school. Never forgot that Lafayette was his hometown. So I just wanted to say that, and he certainly deserves it.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Reports of councilmen. Okay, was there any public comment?
There has been none.
Okay, and there on the agenda, the reminder of the virtual public hearing will be held on Thursday, November 8th, okay, at 5 o'clock. So that's just a reminder of that. And I guess we covered everything?
Mm-hmm.
I think we have.
Cindy, would you send out?
That's October 8th, isn't it?
What did I say?
November.
October 8th, excuse me.
Yeah, would Cindy send out a new email and make sure we log on the right one?
I will.
Sorry.
No, I sent a bunch of them out, but I wanted to get them on your calendar, so I'll send it out again.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Heidi?
Madam President.
Adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Okay. And we have a second? Okay, and then one of you second it? Okay, do we need a roll call vote on that?
Gosh, no.
I believe we do.
Heidi?
What's this?
Are you you're wanting to adjourn? Can I have an aye from you?
Any difference? Okay.
Blinker,
Aye.
Reynolds,
Aye.
Campbell,
Aye.
Brown,
Aye.
Allersmeyer,
Aye.
Williamson,
Aye.
Downing.